All right, today we're going to dive into the incredible story of how we find information. We're going to see how the literature search, which, let's be honest, sounds like a pretty dry academic chore, is actually this fascinating detective story that took us from dusty old library stacks to the simple click of a mouse. Have you ever been there? I mean, really. You're staring at a blank page, you've got a huge project ahead of you, and you're facing this absolute ocean of information, not knowing where to even start. Whether you're a student or you're just trying to learn something new, we've all felt that. But it turns out there's actually a system, a process designed to conquer that exact chaos.
In that whole process, it starts with something called a literature search. Now, as we're about to see, this is way more than just some casual Googling. It's the very foundation, the bedrock of any big idea or serious research project.
So, what is it really? At its heart, a literature search is a systematic, totally exhaustive hunt to find pretty much everything that's already been written about a topic. It's like you're creating a detailed map of all the existing knowledge so you can see exactly where the roads end and where the unexplored territories begin.
So why bother with all this? Well, it really just boils down to being smart and original. You avoid reinventing the wheel, you get to see how other smart people have tackled similar problems, and maybe most importantly, you can prove that what you're adding to the conversation is genuinely new. It's that essential first step.
It's so easy for us to take this instant access for granted. So let's just rewind the clock for a minute. Let's go back to a time when finding information was a completely physical and often a really painstaking job.
Okay, just look at this. This was the reality. You'd start with encyclopedias just to get the basic lay of the land. Then you'd have to meticulously scan through these massive, heavy-bound indexes and bibliographies page by page. And the real work? Writing down every single relevant discovery by hand on a little physical index card. After that, you'd have to manually sort all those cards, maybe by author, maybe by subject, and then build your own indexes from scratch. It was so laborious, so time-consuming, and you always had to physically go to the library.
And then, boom, everything changed. The arrival of computers didn't just speed things up a little bit, it completely revolutionized the entire quest for knowledge. It turned what used to be a marathon that took days into a sprint you could do in seconds.
What's really incredible is just how fast this whole revolution unfolded. It kind of started in the 60s, with computers just helping to print the same old paper indexes a little faster. By the 70s, you could actually dial into a service like Medline over a telephone line. Pretty wild. But the true game changer, the moment it all exploded, that was the 90s. The World Wide Web gave us a simple, graphical interface that suddenly made powerful searching accessible to absolutely everyone. And the difference was just staggering. We went from this slow, painful process, limited by whatever physical books were on the shelf, to searching millions of records across decades of research in just a few seconds. And suddenly, the options just exploded. You could search by any keyword, you could combine terms, you could use complex logic. It was simply impossible in the analog world.
So, that brings us to today. What does this digital world of information actually look like? Well, it's built on this vast ecosystem of electronic databases. Let's take a quick peek inside the modern researcher's toolkit.
Just let this number sink in for a second. Back in 1975, there were about 300 public databases. Today, over 20,000. This explosion of information is, on one hand, an incredible opportunity, but it's also a massive challenge. The data is out there for literally any field you can imagine, which kind of shifts the problem from finding information to navigating it.
So where does all this information come from? Well, it's mainly organized and sold by two key players. You have the original publishers, who often create these super specialized databases, and then you have the aggregators, who bundle up content from lots of different sources all into one place.
Okay, this is a perfect example of a specialized publisher, the Chemical Abstract Service, or CAS. They focus completely on chemistry, and they don't just index articles. They catalog millions of chemical substances and reactions. This is the kind of deep, specific knowledge that powers entire industries.
And then you've got the aggregators. The best way to think about them is like a giant digital newsstand. Services you might have heard of, like EBSCO or ProQuest, they act as a one-stop shop. They give a library or a university access to thousands of journals from hundreds of different publishers, all through one single convenient platform. So here we are. We have this incredible universe of information right at our fingertips. But just having access isn't enough, right? So now let's look at a really simple tool that can make you a much, much sharper researcher.
And this
This right here gets to such a key point. Every database, every search engine, it has its own rules. It kind of has its own language. And learning to speak that language, even just the basics, can make a world of difference in the quality of your results. And this is the secret weapon. Boolean operators. I know, it sounds super technical, but it is so simple and incredibly powerful. Using the word "and" makes your search more specific. It will only find documents that contain both of your terms. Or makes your search broader. It'll find documents with either term. And "not" is your filter, your "get rid of this" button, letting you exclude concepts you don't want. Mastering just these 3 little words will completely transform your search results, I promise.
So it really leaves us with this final question, doesn't it? We've gone on this journey from a world where the biggest challenge was just finding scarce information to one where we're swimming in this overwhelming abundance of it. So maybe the most important skill today isn't about finding information anymore, but about filtering it. What do you think?